Hey there, folks, it's Joey. I just got back from a 3D screening of Godzilla. I was originally supposed to see this in IMAX, but the theater I went to is experiencing problems with their IMAX screen, so they decided let us just see the 3D version. Theater was pretty packed. It was a Thursday night screening, in case you're watching this, after Thursday or whatever. And I was looking forward to this film very much for many reasons. First off, Godzilla back on the big screen. First time in 10 years, because last time Godzilla was on the big screen was in Godzilla Final Wars, and that was a Toho-produced film where he fought a lot of his classic enemies, and in fact kicked the American Godzilla's ass, the 1998 one more specifically, and this is, wow, he's back. So we also have a great solid cast: Aaron Taylor Johnson, Bryan Cranston, Juliette Binoche, Elizabeth Olsen, Ken Watanabe, Sally Hawkins, David Strathairn. Great cast. And then the director, Gareth Edwards, who previously directed Monsters, a $500,000 movie. This was his first movie, and it was a pretty solid film, and you could definitely see the influences from Monsters to this Godzilla. This movie knocked my socks off. So, why did it knock my socks off? Well, first off, let me compare this to another movie that came out actually last summer, Pacific Rim. It's a giant monsters versus robots movie, also produced by Warner Brothers and Legendary. And you would think maybe similar, but actually no, and it makes sense why you can never really have a Pacific Rim / Gareth Edwards Godzilla crossover, and that's because this movie has a very serious tone. I mean, obviously you have moments where you're just pure awesomeness where the monsters are fighting, and it can get a bit in the realm of the ridiculous. But this movie is very serious, very much in the real world, so to speak. Trying to get all nuclear tests are trying to get rid of Godzilla, and then you have these other creatures called the Muto, and then now we got to deal with not the Muto reproducing and Godzilla. It's like the end of the world. Truly a disaster movie. One thing many people will be turned off by is the quote-unquote lack of Godzilla. That did not bother me. I feel that we got enough Godzilla. If we got too much Godzilla in the movie, then it would have ruined it. Also, my opinion is that the 1998 Godzilla didn't have Godzilla in it, so this is already 1,000 times better. Any way you slice it. This movie, when you see Godzilla, Godzilla is just such a massive creature. You're seeing him from a lot of times from low angles. And there's one shot where it pans upward, and Godzilla really has his first full-fledged kind of appearance, face off against the Muto in Honolulu. You're like, oh my god, this is amazing. And yeah, it was breathtaking to see Godzilla. What I also like about Godzilla was that he didn't appear to be just a dinosaur. There's always that temptation, by people to make something more quote-unquote realistic, but with Godzilla, he does look pretty, real, CG is good, but he's not just, this hunched over like a dinosaur would be with, the tail and head parallel with each other. No, this is more like Godzilla. This feels, I don't want to say man in a rubber suit, but it feels like Godzilla's more like a humanoid in a sense. There's shots of him where he's just walking like this, almost. And to me, it's awesome, because it's Gareth Edwards really stayed true to Godzilla. Also, screw you guys for thinking this Godzilla's obese. This Godzilla looks freaking amazing. Deal with it. And the Muto. The Muto are Godzilla's adversaries in the movie, the giant insect-like weird creature things that also can fly. Amazing. You don't get any of Godzilla's adversaries in this movie, which is fine with me. I think that would have created too much expectations, and I really liked Muto, and I like Godzilla fighting with them. The last 15-20 minutes of the movie where Godzilla's fighting are, just some of the most breathtaking fight scenes I've seen in the giant monster movie. Really impressive stuff. That being said, it's a long build-up before we get a lot of anything. I mean, there's certain skirmishes here and there, like the Muto crashing and destroying things like the train track and all that. There's shots of Godzilla, Godzilla's spine, above the surface of the water, going underneath the battleship. It's amazing. Really, just like you're able to appreciate the size of these creatures. But like I said, it takes a long time to get there, and you're dealt with human drama. In the beginning of the movie, Bryan Cranston and his story is told, and let me say this: Bryan Cranston in this movie is amazing. I would have liked to have seen more of him in this movie, but he really gave his all on this role. He wasn't treating it as if it was just like a stupid blockbuster. I really felt and cared about his character of Joe Brody. Aaron Taylor Johnson. Now I remember reading reviews and saying he's really just dull, and honestly, after watching characters like Raleigh Beckett and other blockbuster characters, even in movies that I like where the main character's boring, I didn't mind him so much. I felt he worked for the movie. Elizabeth Olsen was also very good, and she was emotional in the movie too. Ken Watanabe I thought was pretty solid. Interestingly enough, his name is Serizawa, and I think Godzilla fans know who I'm talking about. Serizawa is the doctor in the first Godzilla who created the oxygen destroyer and ultimately sacrificed himself to rid the world of not only Godzilla, but also the oxygen destroyer. If you haven't seen the 1954 movie, I recommend you do. It's a great movie. And then you have, who else? Sally Hawkins is fine in the movie. She's kind of a smaller role, which kind of disappointed me. Same thing with Juliette Binoche, was a smaller role. And, I really liked I didn't mind the human drama. I thought it worked. Another scene that I really loved in this movie, it was the title credit scene, which sounds really weird. And there's a really well done title credit scene where they're leading up to trying to destroy Godzilla in the 50s. And it was really masterfully done with fake stock footage and all that. It was well done. And Gareth Edwards, I think he's going to be the new man to do disaster movies from now on. He knows how to make a disaster movie. Some of the best scenes in the movie are just shots of things that have happened. You've seen some of the shots in these trailers where you'll see cars stacked on top of each other and piled up, and you see a crashed plane still smoking with the emergency things out, emergency slides rather. And you don't even need just the monsters all the time. You just see the destruction, or you'll see a submarine's toppled over, and just these scenes of destruction that have already happened, but you're just seeing the aftermath. And I thought that was beautifully, beautifully executed. So, this movie delivers. Like I said, probably the only problems, you might not like the Aaron Taylor Johnson performance. You might not like, the fact that Godzilla isn't as much as you would have expected. But I think if you come in with knowing that Godzilla's not going to be in there every 5 minutes, or that, knowing, okay, it's a summer blockbuster, the main character sometimes isn't always the most exciting, then you can easily say that this is, at least in my opinion, I could say this is one of the best movies I've seen this year. And I feel so bad for the rest of the summer. I'm sorry, I just feel that way. This movie was amazing, and I can't wait for it on Blu-ray. I also wish that my brother was in this video because he really loved it too. He couldn't think of all that much to complain about. I mean, yeah, there are things to complain about, but it was a really enjoyable movie. And it was also the type of movie where moments happen and you just applaud at certain moments. Like when Godzilla first appeared, we were all just yeah. And there was just trademark Godzilla moments where people were applauding and you didn't feel awkward doing that. And that's what I love about this movie. And I hope that this does well this weekend and it does well in the long run, and we can hopefully get future Godzilla movies. Maybe we'll get the rights to some of the Toho creatures and we can get modernized versions of them. But definitely a solid movie. Check it out on the biggest screen possible. Don't see it in 3D though. 3D I didn't feel was worth it. But maybe IMAX would probably be better. But definitely see it on the big screen. I'll see you guys later.